Life after the football helmet comes off. Today on Carpe Diem. NFL players are something of American deity. Elite athletes playing for millions of fans, earning a king's ransom. But, unlike dragons, football careers don't last forever. And yes, that was a Puff the Magic Dragon reference. In fact, most professional athletes retire when the rest of us are just getting our careers started. So what happens when the games end and the rest of your life begins? How can pro football players be as successful off the field as on? And how does the NFL help its players prepare for that inevitability? To talk about that and more things NFL is Carla Lide-Buglione from NFL Player Engagement. Now, before we get into all these questions, we're going to play a short video that shows exactly what NFL Player Engagement is and what they do. Roll that beautiful video.
NFL Player Engagement is committed to the personal and professional growth of players and their families during and beyond their NFL experience.
The NFL Player Engagement has been very beneficial to me and different players. This week we were afforded a chance, there's 4 of us, 2 active current players and 2 retired players, to come here and work on our craft.
The NFL has done a great job, obviously partnering with Tony Dungy to put on an event called All Pro Dads. Just a great way to bring the game of football to fathers and their kids, teach a lot of the concepts that you learn in football, but also apply them to fatherhood.
We're here at the University of Michigan for the NFL Player Engagement at the Ross School. I'm learning about entrepreneurship and a whole bunch of other things, and we have great professors in here teaching us, and we're back in class again.
This program is called the Speakers Bureau, and it's really about helping guys create, build on, and equip the tools and the understanding of how to connect with your community, speak in front of an audience, and if you want, you can build this as a business as well. Be you, guys. Bring your passion, bring your story.
Each year, Player Engagement offers a wide range of programs, resources, and events. These can be easily accessed through the league office and the director of Player Engagement at each club.
A lot of the questions I've been asked, what am I going to do after football? What are my plans after football? And I thought that coming up here would be a good start to learn about money and learn about investments and real estate and different opportunities I can get into.
The important thing is, if I'm gonna be your financial advisor for 20 or 30 or 40 years, I should get to know you as much as you're getting to know me.
And DeMarcus Ware joining us now from the 11th Annual Broadcast Boot Camp hosted by NFL Player Engagement. It's a really cool program that allows recently retired players and current players to come into NFL Films and really learn about the broadcasting industry. Everything from play-by-play and being a color analyst on games to being in studio.
NFL Player Engagement is here to serve the players and their needs.
For more information about how you and your family can take advantage of what is offered, contact your director of player engagement. Call 1-855-4PE-2472 or email playerlifeadmin@nfl.com.
So Carla, give me the 10,000-foot view of NFL Player Engagement. What are the overall goals of the program?
So our main mission is to get guys to easily transition off of the field, whether that's through education, providing resources that have to do with health benefits, and supporting their families. We are there to help serve the players.
So how did the NFL decide, this is a space they wanted to be in? I mean, if most people think of the NFL, they think it's a business, a professional business. Their goal is to get players in, pay them whatever they deserve to get paid, put on a good show, and whatever happens afterwards, that's their business. How did the NFL decide that they needed to invest more kind of resources into making sure that athletes had kind of a second act?
Right. So, the NFL is a traditional corporation, but when it comes to the players, it's a very unique employee. And I think the NFL realized that about 20 years ago and decided, we need to put some funds behind helping the players. And they created an entire department that really helps get the players to their next step in life.
Right, because players, they are through with their first career, something they've spent their entire lives kind of like working towards, right? And then, you know, for a lot of athletes at 30 or 35 or whenever they're done, I mean, a great NFL, there's only 1 or 2 Tom Bradys, right? That are 40 or 50 or 70, however old he is, right? So, but here's the challenge. Now, you work with a variety of publics, including current athletes and former athletes, but I have to imagine that it's very challenging to convince a current NFL athlete. If you're an NFL athlete, you're kind of like the king, right? You have achieved all life's dreams. You've hit the top of the mountain, and staying there is really hard. And it's probably something that isn't really highlighted enough, that it's one thing to make an NFL roster, it's another thing to stay on an NFL roster. So how do you kind of break through to that public, to those athletes who are both busy, successful, loved and idolized? How do you get through to them and say, look, I understand things are going great, but this is only going to last so long, and we want to help you to the next step?
So basically, we are all about FaceTime. We go to the teams and we sit with the players during lunch. And when I say we, I talk about my entire department. There are 8 of us. And so we kind of each break down the 32, and we go out there and we sit with the players. We ask them what they want to do with life after football, and we start to just kind of put a little tidbit in their ear so that they are hearing it from the beginning as a rookie all the way through to their 3rd, 4th, 5th year. So we're really just there, FaceTime, to really start to have the conversation, be organic, and say that, you know, we're here to support you. So whenever you are ready to make that jump, we're here to help. So
what are some of the things? So, I mean, you're on the road all the time,
all
right?
the time.
We're lucky to have you here for a few hours. You're on the road all the time. What are some of the things you hear? I mean, because remember, like, these are 21, 22-year-old, I don't want to say kids, but they're young, right?
Yeah, they're very young.
And so what are some of the things they say?
They're like, wait, where do you work? Who are you? Are you Roger's employee? I'm confused. And so the answer is yes. You know, we do work for Roger Goodell, but we are here to take our time and prepare you, because your life has been all football since Pop Warner, and then high school and college, and then you're in the NFL, which is such a small percentage of guys make it to the NFL, that they're not necessarily thinking about their next career. So it takes some time, right? So we have to go a couple of times to visit the teams and make sure that we establish a relationship first and foremost.
Sure, and some of these guys have, you know, finished their college degree. Some of them may have only, because of the nature of the business, only gone a year or 2 in college. So you really become a real educational program. Now, the one that I'm interested in all of them, but one that I think is very interesting to a lot of us is the business academy that you run. And I think there's this, if you're old like me, you kind of remember that every former NFL athlete opens a car dealership or a barbecue restaurant or whatever it is in the hometown, and that's just kind of what they do, and that's kind of the local business guy. And maybe that was also in an era when they weren't making, you know, millions of dollars throughout their career, so they may not have had that capital investment. A lot of athletes may have big chunks of money that they are going to be working with and launching businesses. So could you tell us a little bit about the Business Academy, what it tries to accomplish, and what do players learn in the academy? You know, what are the goals?
Right. So we did our research a couple years ago, and we asked the players, what are you doing? You know, we hear these stereotypes that you're opening up a car wash and restaurants here, there, and everywhere. What is it that you're doing? And a lot of times they do entrepreneurship, but also franchising. And today they're all about real estate. You know, flipping houses and HGTV is such a hot topic.
Are there any that do a reality? By the way, not that I'm stealing the concept right now, but an NFL flip this house, former NFL athlete flip.
I've seen one episode on HGTV of an NFL player, and he flipped a house for his parents or something.
I think you and I could host an NFL flip this house.
Awesome.
I would totally do that. So I'm sorry.
So no, we did our research and we heard that that's what they're most interested in. So we partner with the University of Michigan because they're top-ranked business school in the country, and we really carved out a curriculum that reflects what the players want. So we have field experts come in and talk about entrepreneurship, franchising, and real estate. And they really give the foundational skills to get started, but then to also maintain that business, that franchise, that real estate endeavor, and then grow it so that they're making in revenue for years to come.
What are some of the mistakes that athletes come in kind of ready to make without the help?
Bringing in a family member as your vice president.
Sure.
So we open it up actually to significant others. So the goal is to educate that vice president, that family member, at the same time as the player, so that they're getting expert advice at the same time, and then they can grow and learn together.
And I guess I hadn't thought about it, but that really has to be one of the challenges in this program is, their families and friends. These are people who have been with them all along.
People they trust.
They are probably, and I'm sure if you're a professional athlete, there are a lot of people that you shouldn't trust because everyone wants to be on your team, I suppose, at some point. And so these are the people they trust, but they may not have necessarily the skill sets to, so, how hard is that message to deliver that you have to, it's still a business?
We try and say that actually at all of our programs, from the finance boot camp all the way to broadcast boot camp is, your family is there for you, absolutely, but you are the face of your business. And once that business flops, that's on you. So you have to really be stringent with who you bring in on your team to help run your business.
Yeah. So tell me, just off the top of your head, give me a couple. I won't ask you for ones that didn't go so well, but because there's always ones that don't go so well. But tell me a couple of ideas that maybe have come through former players that the NFL, player engagement had some, at least some germination in. That things that you guys are like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, actually, a couple of years back, Drew Brees.
Sure.
Who is equivalent to a Tom Brady, if you will. He attended our business academy, and he now has a franchise. I don't know exactly which one it is. I think it might be a sandwich spot, Jimmy John's. It could be Jimmy John's.
But I'm sure this is going to be taken when he sees this.
I'm going to have to Google that, so don't quote me on it.
Yes. If we can get some research from someone.
Yes, please. So he actually attended the program and then launched his franchise endeavor with Jimmy John's. So.
Interesting. So, and how many? Do you know how many he owns?
A couple. I want to say like more than 5. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And sandwich places are awesome.
Yes.
I mean, it used to just be. No, this is. I don't want to go down
this. Hot right now.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but it used to just be Subway, and then Quiznos came in, and they started doing hot sandwiches. Now you can get. Yeah. You can have a car and a sandwich. You can do anything you want.
Exactly.
So no, sandwich places. We have a Blimpie in our town, which is still solid.
Still okay.
It's still solid.
Yeah.
We did Blimpie on Halloween.
I like Jersey Mike's, but.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, how can you not? So so I actually want to, kind of staying on that same theme, I want to talk a little bit about the programs you run on personal finance. And this is obviously kind of very much at the core, obviously, of your mission. But I think historically, one of the things that people have worried about with professional athletes is, look, you are 20, 21, 22 years old, and you come into a lot of money. Now, I mean, when I was 21, if I had more than $20 in my pocket, it was dangerous, right? Because you only knew what you might spend it on, right? Or waste it on, I suppose, at that point. So you have young athletes who are coming into, in some cases, ungodly sums of money, and they often have a financial manager that's doing stuff with it that they might not even really kind of understand. And, a lot of these athletes, because of the nature of their lives, have been kept in relatively controlled environments. Their coaches have told them what to do. They get meal money. This is how life is. And so now it's Wild West. So could you tell us a little bit about how you handle that part of your business, and also the challenges of educating kind of very quickly wealthy young players who are, very popular and, instantly seem like they want to buy. Was it Tony Dungy? That had the, one wife, one piece of jewelry. I mean, how do you get that message across?
So we start early. As soon as they get into training camp after draft, we are there educating them about money. We have actual spreadsheets with real numbers that are realistic to them and relatable. And we say, this is how much a car would cost if you're going to buy it. This is how much 2 cars cost, 3 houses. Maybe you should rent. Maybe you shouldn't buy this first year. So we're really educating them as soon as they come through the gates. And then we're continuing to educate them in years 2 and 3. And the personal finance boot camp is actually a voluntary program. They don't have to go, but we have relatively high numbers each year of players who come in, current guys who want to learn how to manage their own money, from investments to understanding the psychology of money to wills, trusts, and estate planning.
What's the hardest thing that young athletes kind of have to deal with, or what's the toughest thing for them when they come into it, when they get their first paycheck? Like, what's the thing you have to say absolutely not?
So we try not to say absolutely not.
I'm thinking what my dad would be like, Keith, absolutely not.
I think something that kind of comes up all the time is family and money. and learning how to say no to your friends who, you know, grew up with you and supported you so much, and learning how to say no to family members, or coming up with some sort of strategy to not give so much, so that you can benefit from all the hard work that you put in as an NFL player. That is the hardest one, and the truth is, you know, they want to give, and how do you say no to that, you know?
Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, when you say the psychology of money, I think some of the most touching moments are when an athlete kind of hits it big and they're able to buy their mom a house, or something like that. And it's very hard, it's hard to say no to that, right? But there also has to be some kind of boundary of what works.
And that's what we say, you know, create boundaries and try and stick within the boundaries.
Does philanthropy become part of that conversation? Because I think of people like Warwick Dunn, who's, you know,
big time.
I mean, just, you know, done amazing things for single moms.
Absolutely.
So how do you incorporate that into
we actually included it in the Business Academy 2 years ago because we did our research and that was a hot topic for that year, coming up with foundations that are going to thrive. And so we do educate the players on how to have a successful foundation for non-for-profit opportunities.
Now, I imagine, and you know, the NFL is a big tent and they have lots of relationships, but you know, the person or group that a lot of these athletes rely on the most outside of their family and friends are their agents.
Yeah.
And so how are the agents, I don't want to say incorporated, but how do you deal with that relationship? Because certainly, look, I know enough about agents. Agents do like to have their boundaries and their control. So how do you make this work when athletes have very strong working relationships, not only with their individual agent, but also these larger, whether it's a CAA or, you know, any of these groups that really do offer a lot of services as well?
Consistency. So the same message that we give the players is the same message we give to the agents. And we have a fairly good relationship with them where we include them in the conversation of what we're talking to the players about. So all the information on the programs and the resources given to the agents at the beginning of the season. They'll call us individually if they have questions or if they have a player who is particularly interested in one thing, and we'll work with that agent. But our goal is to work directly with the players, and that's why we go out to the clubs and visit, so that we can establish the relationships, and then the players earn our trust, and then the relationship develops.
Now, how important is this to start with, shall we say, rookies? Like, how important is it for you to get in at the ground floor of this operation?
Extremely, because the more they hear it, the more it will resonate. That's our goal. They're coming out of college, like you said, and they're seeing these big numbers with their money. And if we're not there right away, they could make some mistakes that they would regret. So we're there right off the gate. I mean, we used to have something called Rookie Symposium about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was in Ohio, and all the players would come into one building, and we would educate them on all things: finance, mental health, behavior off the field, drugs and alcohol, everything pretty much, to help equip them with the right skills to transition through the NFL. And now Rookie Symposium is localized, so each club does their own version, and we go out to the clubs and kind of help monitor that.
Are they more sophisticated today than maybe they were before, simply because the university system is so big now? So if you play, most of the athletes that are coming into the NFL have played for Ohio State or Florida or Alabama.
Right.
They've basically been, I know they're not getting paid, but they've basically been professional athletes for a while. So if you go to a Michigan or a USC, you're getting media training, social media training. You have systems in place. Are they coming in with a little bit more sophistication? Do you not have to remind them, like, hey, you can't be out drinking at 3 in the morning on Times Square because people know who you are?
Right.
Is that something they're more aware of, or is it still, look, you're a 21-year-old and
It's a little bit of both. Okay. I think there is more awareness. I think social media in general kind of helps with that. I also think former players kind of send back their testimony, and these players are kind of picking up on the do's and the don'ts, right? The best practices. So I think it's a little bit of both, but it is definitely better in the past couple of years.
Is it tough to get, and you kind of mentioned mentoring, is it tough to kind of allow for or kind of encourage athletes to be mentors to younger athletes because they move around so much? It's hard to kind of make these long-standing relationships.
I would say yes, because of the fast-paced environment, but these players always like to pay it forward. Part of that whole foundation piece is to give back to their communities. They do enjoy the brotherhood that is the NFL, and they're always in contact with each other, whether it's on social media, giving someone, a shout out and supporting their mission. To even text messages, and we hear it all the time. Oh yeah, I talked to this one and that one, and he's helped me through this, and he gave me great advice with money. So we do hear it, that the mentorship is organic, and it's fairly good.
And you're bringing all these athletes together in an environment that we don't see them in normally. We normally see them trying to beat each other up, right?
Right, yeah.
Talk a little bit about the brotherhood of the NFL. Is it, in the end of the day, are they all kind of on the same team?
Yes, I would say. They all really do want to support each other. Something at the broadcast boot camp, extremely competitive, right? They're getting ready to either get on ESPN, get on CBS Sports, whatever it is. But they're very supportive behind the scenes. They're cheering each other on. They're like, "You got this. Do it again. Do your reps over and over. Slow down." Or they're always used to giving each other feedback. I think that's the beauty of football, right? There's always that on-site feedback. And so there's support within that.
So let's talk a little bit about the broadcast boot camp, which is obviously near and dear to our heart in the School of Communication and Media. How are athletes selected for this program? How are the networks engaged? Some of the talent that gets involved with this. And this is it's an opportunity for places like ESPN or CBS because this is where you're kind of cultivating your talent. So talk us a little bit about that process of how athletes come into this boot camp and how these other outside partners might engage.
Yeah, so athletes have to apply. So NFL players will get wind of this probably around October, November, right about now. And they'll send in the application. Some of the questions on the application include, what makes you fit to be on camera? What are your best features? And then we have a very select, I guess you could say, process. So a couple of NFL executives sit around and we kind of go through the applicants and we see how much work ethic they have already and then the potential to be on camera. And so we typically take about 40 to 50 NFL players at broadcast boot camp. We go out to Bowling Green mainly because our former communications director at the NFL, that's his alma mater. And so they dedicate a lot of time and effort to the NFL. And basically the players will come out and they'll learn for 4 days with James Brown from Fox Sports, Kurt Menefee, Jerry Manilon from ESPN, NFL Network is there, and it's been going on for about 13 years. And so we have fostered great relationships with all of these media outlets, have kept in touch. They love to see players on camera. Who could tell the game better than an actual football player? And so they really want to see the talent there. They're also evaluating them at the same time, in a good way, of course. And we have great success rates coming out of that program.
Well, what do most of these athletes want to do? Do most of them want to do kind of color commentary? Do most of them want to do a studio show? Are any of them thinking like, hey, I want to be the local talk radio guy back in Cleveland or in Los Angeles? Right. Do any of them think about, hey, I'm gonna launch a podcast? Where are most of them thinking?
It's all over. So a lot of them do go back to their alma maters and they will commentate at their colleges. Sure. Some of them start their own podcasts. They do Facebook Live all the time. So social media is huge. And then, of course, some of them like to do color analysts and speak on camera. Some of them like studio shows. It all depends on their personality, I think. And we get a nice array of that.
Has this evolved? I mean, is it changing as the media landscape's changing?
Oh, definitely. Social media is huge right now. And so we have a whole class dedicated to how to use social media the right way. And you think, well, easy, you post and that's it. No, there's actually a strategy behind it. And so getting the players to understand that culture, that platform, is amazing.
So how hard is it so if you're a professional athlete, you are really, really good at something. Like you're the best in the world at something. I imagine when some of these guys get up in front of a camera, it's either deer in headlights or they realize they're just not good at it. It's not to brag, but it's a little bit of a craft.
We see a little bit of that.
Right? So how do you deal with telling these athletes like, hey, that was awful? And how do they react to that?
Luckily, I don't have the job to do that.
Yes.
That's James Brown,
yes.
JB. but they do it. And these players are used to feedback. I mean, they're an open book. It's really interesting. And so if they do bomb, they want to know about it. And so I don't have to do it, but I am behind the scenes seeing it all happen, and I'm there to support the player. But, you know, we kind of encourage them, like, if this one didn't work out, do it again. It's all about reps.
Yeah, I want to be, if I may, just a tad bit, since we're on a university campus, a tad bit philosophical. You've been involved with sport pretty much your whole life, university level, even before that. What do you think the value of sport is in general? You know, football is, I mean, it's part of American culture, American life, even as it's questioned. But you're involved with kind of using football to help people get to other parts in their life. What do you think the value is of sport kind of to us as a people?
I think it brings people together. Anything from Sunday football to the World Series. There's a lot of history to sport, and I think history is really important in bringing people together as well. But it does bring families close, and that's something near and dear to my heart. Like, that's the reason why I got involved in sport to begin with, was my family taught it to me. My dad was a basketball player. My mom was a Jets cheerleader back when Namath was QB. So it kind of just naturally brought us close, and I think that's the beauty of sport in general.
Yeah. Last question: where do you think the NFL, where NFL player engagement might move next? I mean, obviously you're going to continue the initiatives you're doing right now. Are there some other areas you'd like to be involved with even more?
You know, I think player engagement, I hold it near and dear to my heart. I have a background in athletic counseling, and so what I do is exactly what I studied, and I think it's amazing. But I do have a passion for helping people. So whether that's bringing that over to social responsibility or community relations, I think that I can easily do that. But player engagement has my heart.
Very good. Well, thank you, Carla, very much for joining me. For more information about this or any other Carpe Diem, you can write to us on the email address on your screen, carpediem@mail.montclair.edu, or call us at 973-655-5158. For Carpe Diem, I'm Keith Strudler. Thanks for watching.